Hi everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of our podcast series, The Future of Hiring. And I'm Niveta, a digital marketing analyst working at Links of Technologies. And I'm joined by my co host, Priyanshi. She's a senior TA here at Linksoft. And together today, we'll explore how AI is reshaping the way companies attract and evaluate the talent. And again, today we are joined by our special guest, Donna, a senior HR leader and consultant with extensive global experience. So she has worked with organizations of all sizes, from startup to large enterprises, helping them shape people, culture, and leadership strategies. Welcome, Donna. So,
Hi,
uh,
Navita. Hi, Priya. Thank you for having me.
it's our pleasure to host you. Also, to
Yeah,
start off, could you introduce yourself to our listeners and share a bit about your journey?
sure. I'm Donna Brown, a fractional CHRO and People and Culture Advisor. I'm here in the US in Durham, North Carolina, and I work with founders and SMBs or small, medium sized business CEOs to align people's strategy and business outcomes. Some of the things that I focus on are talent models, organization design, M&A integration, and leadership effectiveness. But a growing focus of my practice is helping companies responsibly integrate AI into their workflows.
Okay, that's a great overview, and thank you again. As you know, AI in HR seems to be everywhere right now, like at conferences and boardroom meetings, even day-to-day HR conversations, right? From your perspective, what do you think is driving all these attention?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there are a number of forces, but I'll name just a few. So, first, as you mentioned, who isn't talking about it? The possibilities, the risks. It's both an exciting and a sort of scary time. Um, Second, as a function with a lot of administrative overhead, HR is ripe for automation and efficiencies that AI can provide. Um, Third, the implication for people, jobs, training, and hiring are significant. And this is the space where HR leads the way. And then the last one I'll mention is ethical AI, where HR is central to fairness, anti bias, risk management across the organization. So even if HR didn't implement AI into its own work, HR is the steward for the business and has a responsibility to ensure that AI adoption happens in the right way.
Okay. And building on that, we have seen hiring tools evolve pretty quickly, right? From simple automation tool like resume screening and to system designated designed to reduce the bias. And how have you seen that play out in the workplace?
Sure. 10 years ago, it was resume parsing and scheduling. So this is not a new thing. Then we had candidate matching and AI building structured interviews. Now, AI can orchestrate a multi step workflow, drafting job descriptions, sourcing candidate lists, scheduling interviews, generating scorecards, even highlighting compliance issues while keeping a human in the loop to make sure that everything that's happening is reflective of the mission and values of not only the company, but also the surrounding communities.
Okay, all right. So, but even with all the tech advancements, right, HR teams still they do face plenty of challenges on the ground. And again, from your perspective, what do you see as the biggest challenges in recruitment right now?
Yeah, as you mentioned, there are a number of them. So recruiters face what I think is referred to as signal versus noise issues, right? Too many applicants, not enough structured data. Speed versus quality trade-offs, where the sheer number of applicants make finding the right candidates hard to find. This extends time to fill. Admin overload, task fragmentation, information overload, distractions, those are some of the others that you see frequently. When recruiters try to do all of the things themselves, they don't have time for quality candidate interactions. That can lead to ghosting, which we all hear about every single day, and other unintended consequences. I think recruiters also face issues created by AI. So not only can AI help with some of that, but there are particular challenges created by AI. So candidates can generate custom resumes in seconds, even if they don't have the experience to back it up, clogging the systems even further. We've all heard about and experienced deep fakes, which have been going on for years, where the candidate who's interviewed is not the candidate who shows up for the role, or they're answering interview questions based on AI generated examples, not reflective of their own experience. And that gets more and more sophisticated. So I think there are challenges when you don't use AI, and there are challenges when you use AI on both sides. And we're all getting better at that as we learn.
All right. And out of those challenges you just mentioned, right, which one do you find the toughest to manage in your own experience?
Mm. Yeah, for sure, quality versus speed. So I deal with a lot of early stage and growth companies where delays of even, a few weeks can derail a product roadmap or a customer launch. But rushing to hire can also lead to costly mistakes. So, the everybody focuses on time to fill, but the flip side in smaller companies is that the right candidate is critical because each person has an outsized impact on results, right? You don't have the masses to sort of mask, individual inefficiencies. So balancing that quality and speed dynamic has become more and more difficult.
All right, okay. So, could you please share us any specific example, again from your
Mm-hmm.
own experience, where maybe it might be a mishire or a candidate drop off or even bias issue, where you really saw the impact play out?
Yeah, so I worked with a technology company where a misscoped product leader role led to a 7-month delay in the roadmap delivery. So that was a mishire. The opportunity cost far exceeded the salary of the person. And so we had low dev cycles, not just lost dollars. And this was really an issue that cost money, time, onboarding somebody who wasn't the right fit to the organization, and then having to offboard them, pretty quickly, team morale, like the direct financial issues and costs were exacerbated by those indirect things.
I agree, and those are some real challenges right there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, for sure.
yes. Okay, let's switch gears a bit here and talk about how AI is helping HR leaders to tackle them. And from what
Yeah.
you have seen, right? Where has AI made the clearest difference so far?
I think AI does the best in streamlining operational tasks so that recruiters can focus on high value personal interactions. So if you think about, collecting and shortlisting candidates, AI can reduce that time by 30 to 50%. AI raises interview consistency by building, sort of interview practices that build on each other and then collects that feedback. Technical skill evaluation and lower candidate drop off and people feeling like they're being ghosted with better, more timely communication.
Mhm. Agreed. Like, I mean, in the past, we used to parse each and every resume by ourselves. It used to take a lot of time. With AI, we can just parse 100 plus resumes and get quick results who the top 10 picks are, and then we can manually talk, or maybe our AI agent can talk to them, get the basic information if they align with our requirement, and then take it forward. Agreed on that.
Yeah, for sure. And if you think about what we talked about a couple of minutes ago with all of the candidates clogging up the pipeline, it's impossible. I mean, even if every candidate that applied was qualified, you can't go through hundreds of resumes and feel like you're doing a good job. And so this is where AI really can then distill down what's that group that the recruiter wants to review, get into detail about, and make sure that they're carrying forward those most qualified candidates.
All right, and you did mention earlier admin overload being one of the biggest pain points at the moment, right? So, which AI solutions have you seen actually deliver the results to deal with them?
Yeah, so I like to use the PAR model when considering what work could be given to AI and then helping you determine the tools that will work best. I'm not an AI tools expert, but I have some examples from my own work. So if you think about prioritization, which is the P in that PAR model, tools like ChatGPT, AI-enabled Notion or Trello can really be effective for admin support, the A, tools like Scheduler and AI Note can help. And then for research and recommendations, the R, tools again like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity can be really helpful. And the nice thing about the evolution of tools is they're now citing their sources. So, even a few months ago, you were hearing about AI tools, having hallucinations and making up information.
Yes.
And I think in my experience, Perplexity was really the first one out with what I'm going to describe, but now the others have followed suit. So when you are trying to do your research on, putting together a job description, putting together, the right interview protocols for a specific role, you're going out with AI and doing research on best practices. Now the AI tools are coming back with citations for where they got that information. So you can see when, of course you have human in the loop for all of this because we can trust, but we've got to verify with AI. And you can go in and you can see and make sure that those sources are credible. And then you can feel comfortable building that into your process. So even things like intelligent note takers are a huge value. So let's say you're not doing any of those more sophisticated things, but those intelligent note takers, they don't only take notes, they summarize the output, they create follow-ups, they allow you to easily compare candidates. And again, this allows recruiters to be present in the conversation rather than focusing on taking notes. So we can probe and listen for nuances, listen for those places where it sounds like maybe a candidate is answering based on an AI, delivered answer versus their own experience. When you're trying to multitask in an interview, as you guys know, having done a lot of them, it's really hard to be listening for all of those signals. And an AI note taker can really cut that down. You're totally present and focused in that interview and can do a much better job.
And having the tools is one thing, and getting the people to actually trust and use them is another, right? And again, from your experience, what hurdles do HR leaders usually run into when they start introducing AI?
Yeah, some of the biggest hurdles are model transparency and explainability. I think that's getting more and more important. Used to be, a total black box, and now that's just not good enough. There's fear of bias amplification. There's accountability issues, and then there are unintended outcomes. If you think back to what happened with Workday as an example, with, that lawsuit and a finding of bias in their algorithms. So I think there's a desire to move forward with AI, but then there are some pretty serious consequences if you do it in the wrong way. There are inherent risks that stem from the core technology itself, like bias and fairness, as we just talked about. There are application-based risks where the tool may be misaligned with organizational values. Think about executing layoffs without a human in the loop. And then there are compliance-based risks in terms of data privacy and employment law compliance. HR leaders need to start with a strong policy, a governance framework, and training that provides the guardrails for ethical use, but that also remains sort of flexible because of the rapidly expanding AI landscape. The policy that we write today is probably going to need to be enhanced 6, 7, 8 months down the line.
Okay. So once those challenges comes up, right, like how can teams build confidence in AI recommendation and also integrate them smoothly into their existing process?
Yeah, I think I would start with making sure you're implementing explainable AI tools. If the tool is not explainable and transparent, don't use it. You need to, really challenge companies that are offering tools, and there are a ton of them out there, to make their algorithm clear. I think the next thing is selecting what I would call low regret use cases. Start off drafting job descriptions, doing scheduling. Those are all things that we know how to do, and so we know when they happen correctly and we know when they backfire. Make sure you're using diverse representative training data as you're training up the AI. And then make sure that you've got transparency about how and where AI is being used. And not just inside the company, but externally as well. Make sure that your candidates know where you're using AI in the process. You want to collaborate with legal experts and have regular audits. And then you always want to show where the inputs and scoring factors are coming from, making sure you're keeping, again, humans in the loop for sign off, that all of that looks correct and as you intended.
Right. And have you personally seen certain approaches like gradual rollouts or hands-on experience and training or feedback loops that really help encourage the adoption?
Yeah, I'll tell you a personal success story, which I thought was sort of funny. But I was working with a leadership team who, for all of the reasons that we talked about, were a little reluctant to adopt AI. There were experiments going on in the organization, but they were not using AI. And so we held a workshop where I used an AI note taker and quickly generated summaries, key actions, and follow-ups right in the meeting, demonstrating that efficiency and that time savings. Then I added in a data set to research the topic we were discussing, quickly narrowing down the most critical items for the team to address. And we were able to really quickly get to the conversation rather than spending so much time, right, as you can imagine, without that. So after this one session using AI, they were pretty sold, and then could intelligently encourage their teams to start building use case and experiments. Because it's hard to encourage use when you yourself have not experienced, the power of AI. So I'm all for slow rollouts with training. Pick a use case, ask key questions. Some of those questions, right, that you want to ask when you're doing your test use cases and experiments are: who are the stakeholders that are impacted by the decisions? What are the potential short-term and long-term implications? Ask yourself, am I being legal and compliant? And if you don't know the answer, get help from your friends. Ask if the use case is aligned with organizational and social values, societal values. Challenge yourself about whether you're being objective and bias-free. And then I think the last two are the most important. Can I justify or defend the decision to use AI in this use case? And how would I feel if the decision to use it this way went public? So if you sort of ask yourself all those questions throughout the process, you may get to oh, no, this is really not the right use case. And then you're going to set that aside and, You might do some process improvement, but you're not going to bring AI into that. Or you may find absolutely this is a use case that's right for AI.
That's actually a very smart approach at adoption, right? And now let's step back and think about what's coming next.
Mm.
Looking 2 or 5 years ahead, right? How do you see AI reshaping the recruitment overall?
They're part of our team. I think you're going to expect agent teams to be handling end-to-end tasks,
Yeah.
calibrating notes, scoring, sourcing, drafting offers with compliance baked in. Skills graphs will drive internal mobility and pay recommendations. Quality of hire, I think, is going to shift to a lagging to a leading indicator, which is critical and has been something that recruiting has really been seeking for a lot of years. And all of this with humans in the loop to make the decisions and ensure high touch quality candidate experiences.
All right, as AI takes over more of these repetitive tasks, right? How do you think HR leaders' responsibilities will shift?
It's going to be so great because HR leaders are going to be able to move from executors to workflow architects and AI governors. So curating scorecards, auditing bias, stewarding data privacy. The focus is going to be on governance, design, and enablement, and not just execution.
All right. So, and do you see this changing the way HR teams and hiring managers work together in a day-to-day task?
Yes, because I think AI is going to give hiring managers dashboards with the risks, the trade-offs, um, predicted ramp of a given role. They'll have confidence that a structured compliance process is taking place. And HR is going to be able to orchestrate fairness in decisions, which I think has been something challenging for us in the past because hiring managers and hiring teams can be all over the place. And we don't always have the time to train and to provide those structured interview kits and to make sure that people are, asking the right kind of evaluation questions. Now, with that off our plate, AI is doing that. We're reviewing it, saying, yes, this looks good. And we're executing that within the teams. The collaboration becomes far more strategic and less transactional, which is something that recruiters have always wanted. Recruiters have a lot of value to add in the process, but we're swamped with the administrative things and we're expected to meet very aggressive time to fill targets. And so things like quality sometimes suffer because you're focused and measured on that time to fill. That quality hiring manager and candidate experience suffers because of that administrative overload. So I think once AI becomes more present in our work, we'll be able to do the things that we love to do and the things that make us great recruiters.
So this has been such an insightful conversation, to be honest, right from start to
Thank
the end.
you.
And yes, before we wrap up, right, if you could give one piece of advice to HR leaders who are just starting their AI journey, what would it be?
Yeah, so I probably have two pieces of advice that go together. So start small to build confidence. You don't have to like change the world with AI overnight because you want to be realistic about where AI can unlock efficiencies and then start integrating that into your daily workflows. So developing those strong experiments and use cases, I think is important. The other thing I would say is use AI as a learning tool by utilizing that two-way interaction. I've gotten so much smarter since I started using AI because I'll ask a prompt and it'll give me a response and I'll be like, oh, that's not really what I intended. But when I look at the prompt, my prompt wasn't specific. So AI over time has taught me to ask better, more targeted questions. which I then bring into the real world, right, outside of my interactions with AI. And I found that, I'm asking my clients better, more targeted questions to generate really good answers.
All right. Donna, thank you so much for joining us today and your
Thank
insights on
you.
AI. Yes, AI and
It's
recruitment.
been fun.
It was actually, I was quite nervous at the beginning, but yeah, as we went along, I could learn so much from you. So thank you so much. It was incredibly valuable for us.
Thank you so much as well.
Thank you, Donna.